This week's episode was so silly and fun to record. Oh man, David Bronner is wonderful. What an insanely fun human to sit down and connect with face to face. He is the CEO of Dr. Bronner Soaps. I had the pleasure of meeting David Bronner at the VETS Gala in 2022. VETS, V-E-T-S, is Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions. It's an annual gala to raise money that helps veterans go overseas for psychedelic therapy treatments. And David Bronner is an outspoken, hugely strong supporter of that mission. He also works closely with MAPS and other organizations that are leading the charge in creating a space for psychedelics to come in through the legal system that we've created as humans in order to help raise humanity's global level of consciousness, elevate humanity's level of kindness, respect, and love, and help reduce trauma across the world. This conversation was awesome because David is a badass activist. This man was arrested for planting hemp plants outside of a government building. I'm not going to tell you the story because he tells it way better than me. And you can see the passion that he has for this subject and the role that he has decided to play in helping push psychedelics into a space where it can become legal and become helpful for humanity. But first, a quick shout out to the sponsors of this season of the Good Trip podcast. When you're looking to chill out after a super long day, I highly recommend CBD, specifically Hemp Lucid CBD. Hemp Lucid uses a proprietary strain of USDA certified organic CBD, which not a lot of other companies on the market do, because not a lot of other companies on the market really truly care about your health. I've been digging the water-soluble version of Hemp Lucid CBD. This is created using advanced nanotechnology that breaks down the CBD into more bioavailable particles so that your body can absorb it and put it to use quicker. There are also mushroom-based gummies that have all kinds of great ingredients in them to help you focus, to help you de-stress, and to help you ease into sleep. I have one of these each night when I'm getting ready for bed, about an hour before bed, and I notice that I can just fall asleep easier and I wake up feeling more refreshed. And I would love for you to be the same, because the world would be a better place if we were all just a little bit healthier. So cruise over to hemplucid.com, use promo code PELA for a discount at hemplucid.com using promo code PELA, and check out all the other stuff they have to offer. I love that company and I love you. And after you wake up feeling refreshed, I highly recommend you check out Legit Gold Shilajit. Shilajit has been a part of my daily life for the past couple of months, and I've noticed a tremendous difference. Shilajit has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for thousands of years, and it's super easy to consume. It's already pre-dissolved in the dropper version, which is water-based, or a pea-sized drop of the resin quickly dissolves into your morning coffee or tea. And you know, there's a lot of products and companies out there that claim that their product will solve all your problems. Neither of these do that. Both of these solve very specific problems for me and my life. And there's been all types of research and scientific studies on Shilajit in particular and its positive effects on liver health, boosting your mental clarity and focus, balancing your hormones, and also boosting testosterone in men. Cruise over to legitgold.com, use promo code Brent for 15% off your order, and learn more about Shilajit and how it can optimize your body at legitgold.com. Use promo code Brent for 15% off. And now, please enjoy this week's trip with David Bronner.
Right on, brother. Hey, I was reading about your early days, and I saw you went to Harvard, yeah?
Yeah.
Majored in bio.
Yep.
And did you play football and rugby?
Yeah, I did. I mean, mostly and ripped a lot of bong loads.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually got recruited for football. I played soccer growing up my whole life, and then crossed over and started kicking for the football team and kicked a 57-yarder in my senior year. So all of a sudden I was getting recruited everywhere.
Wow. You hit 57 yards.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
So, but then got kind of bored after a couple of years of just doing that. So then played rugby. My roommates were having a lot more fun playing rugby and, you know, going to the drink ups and yeah, no drug testing, actually, most importantly.
Yeah, that's a key for everybody choosing a sport out there. Make sure you can drink a beer out of a boot, and there's no drug testing.
Yeah, and rip all the weed you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Club sport was an NCAA, so yeah.
Oh, so you were safe. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So in college, it was a lot of weed, and then post college, when was one of your first like psychedelic experiences?
Yeah, I think the first important one was my junior year in college. My friend gave me same friend who'd given me my first LSD, but my first LSD trip was pretty light as far as the medicine and wasn't that profound. But this mushroom chocolate, I remember I was like junior year and I'd like given up my childhood Christianity when I was 13. You know, and if
Hmm.
God so loved the world, why did he send his one only son at this one spot? You know, what about the Chinese slash other planets? And, you know, kind of, and I also said the Shema in Hebrew and English growing up, um, in honor of my granddad and my dad, but my dad was pretty much a-religious. Um, so in college, I was pretty much, I don't know, atheistic, materialistic, I guess, or agnostic, not atheistic, but
Yeah.
was getting pretty impatient with with the like materialistic reductionism and within this science side of things, and then postmodern relativism on the other side. And I say like I major in biology just because after I knew I didn't want to be a doctor and did the pre-med thing for like a year, I was like, well, what major has the least more things to do? Now it's biology. So
Yeah.
so I was just taking a bunch of random cool classes. But anyways, that was the context of my first mushroom experience. And I remember looking down at my arm and thinking like, wow, what does it mean at a quantum level that there's no difference between my arm and the world? It's just one, continuous energy. And then I looked out the window and was just kind of contemplating that when I eat and I poop, that the world's pouring through me like it's like a river, and it's not like this dead world out there and I'm alive over here. It's just like one continuous dynamic energy and flow, and I'm not even the same blood month to month, and just had this kind of first experience of larger self, like myself is part of something way larger, and everything I see is gonna die pretty soon and be reborn, and just it's just part, I'm part of this like huge reality process of life, death, rebirth, and um yeah. So I mean, it was a big experience, but it didn't really, fundamentally redirect my life. Although about that time was I saw there was a front page Wall Street Journal article on my granddad, which for the most part, the one thing I knew in college and after was I was not going to work in my family company. Just that was the one thing I knew. I didn't know what I was going to do, but it wasn't going to be that.
Hmm.
But I remember that like started like, oh well, maybe there's more to this than I thought. Um, and I should say I grew up in a somewhat like in a Reaganite household. My dad and mom awesome. My dad he went to the Navy. He came up in a series of orphanages while my granddad went off to save the world. So with the all one passion of uniting humanity across ethnic and religious divides, and with the Holocaust as the dark inspiration that his parents, my great grandparents, were killed in the Holocaust, and my dad's mom, my grandmother, died when he was really young. So he came up in a series of orphanages and kind of had rejected the all one, like for my dad, my granddad's passion to unite the human race was basically and all this kind of all one cosmology
Hmm.
was equivalent to bailing as a father. So, when my dad, for his part, made sure that we had the best family, like, just really showed up, coached all of us in soccer, just along with my mom, just made an incredible family life for us. Um, where was the point of that? Oh yeah. So I grew up working with my dad, who developed firefighting foam for structure and forest fires, as well as making the soap for my granddad in the soap business. And it was awesome. And then he developed a version for Hollywood as a fake snow. So I would go to Alka-Seltzer commercial sets and movie sets and just blast foam over trees. And
That's cool.
yeah, anyways, I mean, it was super cool. But I wanted to do my own thing in life or whatever, or at least I thought
Yeah.
wanted to do that. And it wasn't until the real big psychedelic experience that really opened me up was after college in Amsterdam. I went on a Eurail pass, and in the context of a relationship crisis at the time with my then girlfriend, who was to become my wife, um, was took and I had gone to Amsterdam and got deep into the squat scene there. It was very activist and artistic and international and super cool. And I was like, and the Cannabis Cup was going down. Actually,
Cool.
I got this is Alex and Allison Gray's
Oh, rad.
1995.
Super cool. And when you say the squat scene, you mean you were squatting, you were hopping around, staying with different folks along the whole Europe travel that you were doing?
Well, in Amsterdam in particular, like they had this enlightened policy that they had all this like vacant real estate, and they basically said like, well, like if you can't show you're doing something with this property aside from speculating to resell it later, and you're not actively doing anything with it, it can be legally squatted after a year.
Oh wow.
And so they had this, kind of semi-legal squat scene with all these like, it's kind of attracted this international, like really interesting, cast of characters. And it was just so awesome, and just really got deep in there. And the Cannabis Cup shows up, and I met this guy, younger guy, who was a judge. And I would say cannabis was like my big awakening as far as in college was like, I like to drink alcohol, but I mean, cannabis was way, way better as far as instead of getting drunk at the bars every weekend, let's just rip bongos, my buddies, play music, be in a high vibration conversation. And then, just really starting to question, like, why is this illegal? I mean, it's so clearly better in any, criteria than alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the context. And in my squat were actually two guys that were part of a church in Arkansas called Our Church that had formed in 1993 with cannabis as their sacrament as a First Amendment challenge to the drug war. And that didn't work out, obviously. And so these guys were on the run facing 10 years to life, going back to the States. So this really drove home. I was like, opposed to the drug war, but I was still very kind of self-centeredly like whatever, just blowing it off. But
Sure.
Really woke up like, holy shit, people are fucking going down for their whole lives. And that it's just really understanding how it's been a proxy to go after activists, counterculture activists, and then further realizing people of color in the first place, like where the origins of the drug war came from. And so yeah, I mean, they were awesome, and really kind of started to I started to get politicized basically. And it was in this context that I took LSD and MDMA like a month into Amsterdam. Like I hadn't been in touch with my then girlfriend for a while, and yeah, things had just gotten into a kind of crazy spot. And in the medicine space, there's this place called the Matzo. It's like the main freaker gay trance club. We would throw all night parties, and trance was huge. This is back when trance was everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I remember just going through, first of all, like a deconstruction around gender and sexuality, and just like realizing like I'm incarnate soul here to get down, and these are like so much of this is constructed, and seeing then, and especially my feminine nature, and just the way, don't be gay, don't be girly, all the ways we're socialized to like wall off and bind up like huge aspects of ourselves. And then kind of on the related tip, I saw then and I was going through this like death rebirth series of like, I don't know, just dying to old self, and having the experiences of my heart chakra blowing open and being in the light. But the big one was in the medicine, like really seeing that in this relationship crisis with my then girlfriend, that I saw like that she had traveled in Asia for 9 months after a lot of stuff had gone down, and we hadn't been together that long. And she had these huge adventures, erotic and otherwise, just like big adventures. And when she came back, and it was a question, were we going to be together or not? And we just said, okay, we are. But kind of saw in real clear that I was pretty jealous, or really jealous, and had but like unconsciously, and was acting out in like 1,000 different ways, had been cutting her down to kind of cage her back into my little college box. And that was the thing. And there was nothing it just was clear, like her light and her eros and her compassion was just flowing so beautiful. And like, what was I doing? Dude, better you die than do that to her, or do that to anybody. And died, and like fell away in vision from her light. And I saw this demonic horde assaulting her as I fell. And then her light exploded and embraced me into the mega love and light at the heart of existence. Like, dude, infinite forgiveness, infinite love, infinite everything. And in hindsight was she was carrying my soul energy and vision, and that what I was doing to her, I was doing to my own soul, which is, I think, more or less the law of things. And like, that evil you do to another is what you're doing to yourself. And yeah, so oh my gosh. So now all of a sudden, holy fuck, like my heart exploded. I'm in the light, God's real. This is the transcendent love and light my granddad's been talking about all my life. Like all the faith traditions at their best when they're not making idols out of their beliefs and demonizing each other, they're pointing at this. But so now God's real, and I'm like, well, awesome, but wait a minute, like, here we are dancing in this club, and there's like rape and there's murder and there's all this fucking shit going down real time all around the world, like the worst stuff. And, like, how does that go together? And then I was microscoped to nothing and saw a divine self of which I was part, but this, infinitely tiny, minuscule, whatever, like divine self just on the mega living and dying and rebirthing on the on beyond. And, the I am that I am, there's no explanation. It's just all self to self to self. There is no God over there and us where, it's all in all a mystery that is beyond and can, it is what it is. Self can do to self whatever self is. And that divine, that that God suffers with us or is us, not like or being done to us. It's all.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. That is profound. That is so profound. So how do you take an experience like that, or how has an experience like that seeped into the way that you move through life on a day-to-day basis today? That being decades ago, today you have a huge multi-million-dollar revenue-generating company. And that experience, it feels like you broke your habitual thinking, like in a few different ways. So how do you think that experience has translated into the way that you just move through life personally and business-wise today?
Well, yeah, it fundamentally reorganized my life. I mean, I had borderline PTSD off of the experience. I mean, it was a full spiritual emergency. I mean, the Kundalini was, I could feel my heart chakra blow up. I could feel the energy surge, and in having no interpretive context for this experience, is reading like Sana Graph, Buddhism, Tibetan Book of the Dead, just all kinds of stuff to try to make sense of these realities. But yeah, fundamentally organized my life. I realized, like, holy shit, there is a way to be in right relationship and wrong relationship to soul and self and divine and world and nature. So, just, how do I be on path? And, there was also like borderline schizophrenic, paranoid ideation, like just a lot of stuff. But, it was set me on my path. And I'll just say that the conclusion of that vision sequence in the club was all of a sudden, in this like divine self maelstrom of existence, Jesus is stepping in, and he's just calm, just compassionate, looking and taking it all in and not trying to explain it and not complaining about it, but just stepping in. And I was like, wow, okay, that's what I want to do. I mean, that's the answer. We're here to serve. We're here to get down, help, love, like that's the answer to the question. It was like, why is it like this? Well, it's there. That's unanswerable. That's the mystery, but we're here. We're that part of the divine self that, people like Jesus. And, if I was raised in a, Krishna or a Buddhist or, whoever can carry that like kind of perfect, compassionate, incarnate energy that all of us can access at our highest vibration. So that was the real lesson. And yeah, so it was like, how do I lead a life of service? Like, I guess initially I thought I was going to go to a monastery or something, and met somebody who was pretty high up, probably in the fourth way or something. It was a little, some Gurdjieffian mystery school or something, but some guy was like holding court in that. I was advised by various friends, like, yeah, you should go talk to him. This is this like kind of unassuming guy. And to me at the time, it was like kind of unimpressive. But talked to me on the super real things I didn't want to hear at the time. And but it turned out to be exactly on point. And and he like on the monastery tip, he's like, oh, and he was like working on policy in Europe, and or something, some policy kind of stuff. And he said, yeah, you could do the monastery thing, but most people, when you do that, it's hard to integrate back into the world. And what the world needs is adults, like dealing with the world's problems.
Yeah.
So like there, that was like, well, I don't need to listen to you because you don't know what you're talking about, whatever, like that's boring, and then like, but he was like, recommending, he's asking me like what I like to read. And I was like, I don't know, science fiction and stuff. And he was like, he told me to read Olaf Stapledon, Last and First Men, and Star Maker, which is like some huge books about the future history of humanity over the next 5 billion years, written by Olaf Stapledon in the 30s, British philosopher guy. It's like pretty amazing. Joseph Campbell, he told me to read Hero with a Thousand Faces. Also, just Dan, what was the one of the new physics, something like the Divine Dance or something. Fritjof Capra,
Mm-hmm.
Fritjof Capra's,
Yep.
book of physics, and yeah, the Divine Dance at the heart of things, and yeah, but it turned out he was totally right, and like my then girlfriend, like turned out I had gotten her pregnant, and it was like, okay, time for you to go back. I was gonna grow plants. I'll just complete the story of like, I dedicated my life to ending the drug war, integrating psychedelic medicines and cannabis. I was going to grow plants in Amsterdam, be a cannabis entrepreneur. My girlfriend was going to move out to be with me after she finished up college, but she got pregnant. And then it was like, okay, well, I need to go back. And she miscarried, but it was still like time really to be with her. And, I really, um, and I became, yeah, being with Chris, while she finished up college. I became a mental health counselor in the Boston, Waltham, Watertown area. And I'm like dealing with like this kind of paranoid ideation, like random people on the bus would be like a Zen master checking up on me kind of thing. Like, oh man, well, that kid had promise, but oh well,
Mm.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
that kind of shit. But it was a great mental health counselor. I mean, I like knew the territory and like could really show up for people and help round them out. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that was you went through a lot of psychological changes. It feels like at least as far as like your perspective toward your place in the world, in nature, your relationship with God, you had a lot of changes to your mental perspectives after that psychedelic experience. But then you also it seems like you took those changes into the physical world too, with a lot of your activism after being a little bit. Yeah.
Kind of after Harvard or whatever. I mean, so many people are on this, like, I don't know what track. And even in college, I mean, I was like looking around, I'm like, dude, like we're in college, guys. Like, what are you guys doing? Just studying your lives away. And like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then after you get onto the whatever track and you're just working insane hours and you're just in the machine and you're getting paid great, but you're trapped, and
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I mean, I want to do something meaningful and awesome. And what is that? And so initially it was like the mental health counseling thing, and which was awesome, and met so many amazing people and got to help awesome people. And while I was getting help myself as I navigated my own stuff. So in some ways that was like my first activist thing of like rejecting the whatever, it almost like football. I mean, I had to reject, because I got recruited. So that was a thing
Yeah.
for me with football, and then go play rugby. And then this was another, just kind of like rejecting like the whatever path, and just doing something more meaningful. It's not like activism in like a more traditional sense, but in some ways it was a hard choice, relative to the
Yeah.
expectations and powers and whatever.
It was taking a stand for sure.
Yeah. And, but in the course of this year and a half, I was reading deeply, and, I was reading Jack Harris, Emperor Wears No Clothes,
Mm-hmm.
really getting turned on. I became vegan also in this time. Like, like how do we, those same religious cannabis cats were also vegetarian, hippie, sweet people. And I was wide open, and people were, like, why are you eating meat? Just, I mean, people were coming at me with a lot of stuff. Like, the Dolphins are running the show and we're about to go through the 13th galactic, whatever chakra
Yeah.
reline.
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of stuff. A lot of it turned out to be like, maybe, but probably not, but they're like, why are you eating meat? And like, I remember just going deep on a cannabis meditation on that. And like, I mean, that was such a way for me and my father to bond. I cook great steaks. I like love meat. It tastes great. But yeah, just realized like, hey, I have a knife in my hand when I'm in a store, and like on the medicine could just see like I have a choice, and I could like kill that cow, or I could just eat plants and be a vegetarian. And so that, was a big choice. And to basically go vegetarian, and then like I would say a few months later going vegan, to just because of the dairy industry and how horrific it is. And that, yeah, so I'd really, and kind of could see like the disaster of Western consumption on the planet, of like, just we're going through the sixth great extinction event driven by our consumer culture and economy. And a big part of that is our industrial agriculture and just how it impacts ecosystems across the world. And so that was a big shift. And it was like kind of destabilizing, but also like really important. um and then discovering hemp. Well, I just actually discovered hemp in at the same time in this whole time. And
Hmm.
initially I was like, well, whatever can help legalize cannabis, great, but didn't really take it that seriously. But now all of a sudden I'm on this like much more kind of ecological tip. And I'm like, oh wow, like cannabis, it grows like a weed. It's this incredible dual seed fiber crop. You don't need a lot of synthetic inputs. It can do all this stuff. So yeah, I got really turned on to that. And at the same time read Paul Hawking's Natural Capitalism. It was this book about leveraging business for social change, for progress, for social and environmental good, and really started to like have a reframing of my family business and of Dr. Bronner and my granddad and his vision, and my dad and what they're doing, and like what we could be done leveraging this as an engine to in the world. And so yeah, just out of all that, um, decided eventually like, yeah, I could be a mental health counselor, but I have this incredible opportunity that to join Dr. Bronner's. And my granddad had started it as a nonprofit religious organization to unite the human race.
Hmm.
And IRS disagreed with his tax exempt self-designation a few decades later, and we were in bankruptcy, paying back taxes and penalties. And my dad and mom entered and reorganized things as a for-profit, and got it out of bankruptcy and on real sound financial footing, and running in a good financial whatever way. But we had that nonprofit DNA at the heart of everything we did. And yeah, so I was just like, wow, what an opportunity. And around this time, Chris, my girlfriend, who's then shortly become my wife, we got pregnant again. So this really kind of like, okay, it's like time to like, figure things out here. And she was down, like, let's join Bronner's and do this with my family. And my kid Maya was born on the same day Dr. Bronner died, on March 7th, 1997. And about a month later, my dad had was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. So I'd had this like very intense, conversation already with him. And, he was really psyched that I would made this decision to come in. And then a month later, he was diagnosed with stage 4 and given 6 months. Um, and it was a real blessing in the sense that I had made this decision to come in. I wasn't being forced. So we got to move in and be with my dad for an incredible year together. We just really downloaded the ropes of life and business. And he lived to marry my sister to my brother-in-law. My sister Lisa Bronner is
Awesome.
married to my brother-in-law Michael Milam. Well, Lisa Milam now. And he's our COO.
Cool.
So yeah, my dad lived to marry them in this beautiful, incredible ceremony, and died 6 days later. Um, and my sister Lisa is about to do a book launch party later this month, at Expo East in Philadelphia, for a new book, Soap and Soul. It's about cleaning your house with a Dr. Bronner's and a lemon, but also
That's awesome.
Yeah, A Simple Spiritual Life. She's super dope.
Well, you guys had awesome leadership on a family level, and I mean, I can only imagine the pride and joy that your dad had when he watched you step into that lane and start to lead the company forward. And I want to ask you about the hemp activism, because one of the coolest peaceful protests I have ever heard of was you at the DEA in 2009. Do you want? Can you tell me a little bit about what went down that day?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll just say in '99. So sure, like about a year after stepping up to run Bronner's, we added hemp seed oil to the soap recipe, and hemp seed oil is really high in omega-3 essential fatty acid, makes the lather smoother, less drying. Blind customer trials showed the preference, which I convinced the rest of my family who were not hempsters and did not want to end the drug war. But
Oh, so you brought hemp into Dr. Bronner's.
oh yeah, so that was the first major activist thing I did. So like stepping in, and and hemp is at the nexus of drug policy reform. Like this non-drug agricultural crop is Schedule 1 substance, like heroin and whatever. Um, and and then also it's sustainable. It's like it was like my entree into sustainable agriculture and really thinking about that. Um, fast forward to today, that really was the like our two major activist fronts are drug policy reform and integrating psychedelics and ending the drug war, and regenerative organic agriculture, where at some point I realized that as great as hemp is, cannabis is all too often grown in a very degenerative way.
Mm-hmm.
And other crops, even like palm, which is usually grown in a horrible way, can be grown in a totally sustainable and regenerative way. And it's really about a management approach to growing any crop. It's not about any one crop itself. But hemp was really that entree point into these two, major areas of our activism, and bringing in not just, how do we farm in nature's image without a bunch of synthetic inputs, and build soil fertility naturally, but how do we make sure farmers are getting a good price so they can take care of their land and their people in a good way,
Mm-hmm.
and then the primary processing of materials is done in a safe way to the benefit of people and not their detriment, and we're not exploiting people as we go to market. So hemp was kind of like that cornerstone of activism, or of our eventual activism in the world. But hemp itself, yeah, it was just kind of like in 1999, Canada had, or maybe it was 98, had recommercialized industrial hemp. And we felt with 2000, we're going to get Gore, and we're going to, there's all this momentum in the States around hemp, and you could import hemp seed and fiber, but you couldn't grow it.
Mm.
And
Which is crazy, because hemp has, yeah, it has THC, but the amount, isn't it just ridiculously low?
yeah, it's like, yeah, you can't smoke enough to get high. It's not.
No, you could burn a football field and you wouldn't even get a buzz.
Yeah. And in fact, the first like real scientific study that I kind of like, let's just say, skated through a lot of my classes in college, but all of a sudden we got approved that eating an absurd amount of hemp seed foods is not going to trigger a false positive drug test. And organized met this really amazing guy, Garo Lasone, who's like, yeah, just amazing cat. He's now our head of special operation, and sets up our agricultural projects around the world that supply all our major materials. But he was passionate about hemp as a alternative for hemp fiber for synthetic nylon, like petrochemical based fibers. Really amazing guy. So he organized this test where we fed, trace amounts of THC, or different intervals, and basically, track the urinalysis, and basically showed that you couldn't eat enough on a daily basis to possibly trigger a false positive, and that we actually were, just through our own good manufacturing practices, had lowered the trace residues to a point that wasn't a problem. Whereas the government, for poppy seed bagels, had actually raised the drug test limit for opiates to accommodate poppy seed bagels and pastries and stuff.
But they hadn't done something similar for hemp.
In fact, they were just trying to ban us, right? So
Wow.
and so we ultimately prevailed in court. So we had this litigation after 9/11, like the Department of Justice, Ashcroft, they went crazy on all things cannabis. And yeah, so we eventually won. We got Judge Kaczynski, who's like the Federalist Society's like poster star judge, and he was on our Ninth Circuit panel, and we got a 3-0 unanimous decision in our favor, basically saying it's arbitrary and capricious that government's raising drug test thresholds for opiates for poverty bagels and then trying to ban us when there is no problem
Mm-hmm.
at current drug test threshold. So, and when we got Kaczynski, there's no way the feds were going to get the Supremes to hear it, because
And for a casual listener that doesn't know much about maybe the motivations behind the decisions that they were making, it's a bit more than just, from at least what I've read, it's a bit more than just the government not understanding the science behind the plant. There might also be some deeper, darker business movement behind the scenes in regards to like the market share of companies in the paper industry, for example, or other companies that might be negatively affected if hemp were to become legal in different industries. They might be part of the heavy influence on the government to keep hemp illegal. Is that somewhere in the realm of possibility?
I think definitely in the origins of cannabis prohibition, like that in that context, I think. I mean, you had, this is in the 30s, and yeah, there had been a new breakthrough on making paper from hemp, and yeah, so hemp, the Popular Mechanics did some cover story on this new billion-dollar crop, and definitely there were industries that were threatened. It was the same time that you had the Depression and, how do you say, scapegoating of Mexican and Black Americans, to kind of competition for scarce jobs slash just the racism at the time. I mean, this is the rise of fascism around the world, and going after marijuana, or as a proxy of basically going after people of color. So it was all industry interests being threatened, scapegoating Black and Mexican American. I mean, that was the toxic soup where cannabis prohibition came from, soon after alcohol prohibition ended. But then I would say, like, by the time we were, I mean, yeah, I don't know if they were so active, versus it was just at that point, the drug warrior, and
Mm-hmm.
the drug war inertia itself was just so colossal
Yeah.
and pose a threat. I mean, honestly, the reason I'm in it, I mean, I love hemp, I love omega-3, I love strong bast fibers, but really I wanted to end the drug war, and they
Yeah.
knew that, I knew that, they knew that I knew, whatever. It was like that.
Totally. Totally.
Like, we were playing it straight, like, hey, we're a coalition of farmers, like, trying to bring hemp fiber to market. We're just creating space in the culture for cannabis, products, putting hemp in the soap. I mean, that was like a big deal, we're Canada, and yeah, the joke I would say at the time when a reporter would call me up and say, well, isn't this the camel's nose under the tent, like, for marijuana prohibition? And I said, well, some of us think like that, but a lot of us are conservative farmers and they want nothing to do with that. So we're focused on commercializing non-drug industrial hemp, blah, 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 blah. But the real answer that I never said was, no, get it right. This is about LSD.
They don't even know. You guys don't even know. So take me to the DEA in 2009.
Yeah. So we, had disappointingly gotten Bush instead of Gore. And, 9/11, just like, it was just, they ran with the football and just were going after all kinds of stuff in this kind of crazy time. And yeah, and I should say that, like, drug policy reform and the cannabis movement and the hemp movement is a coalition of libertarian right and progressive left, and always has been.
Yeah.
And it's more the kind of center right, center left that's been the problem. Um, and so there's no reason. Yeah, I mean, there's very much a libertarian conservative argument for hemp that eventually did win out. But getting ahead of myself. So in 2009, oh yeah, okay. So Bush, I mean, we just kind of chalked it up. Okay, so we had a bunch of whatever. We had two administrations of a just very conservative, and yeah, just not great on our issue. But with Obama coming in 2008, I mean, all of us are like, thank God, like finally got a president here who's going to base policy on science and reason, and we're going to have this, huge shift on cannabis and drug policy generally, and certainly on hemp. I mean, it's so not controversial, one would think, but here we are, over a year into his administration, and all the same drug warriors are in place, making the same lame ass decisions. We're not making any progress, even though he had voted as a Illinois state senator in favor of ending or in favor of cultivation of hemp. We just weren't making any progress. So we came up with the idea of digging up the DEA's lawn and planting hemp seeds, to really highlight, and getting arrested, and really highlighting the absurdity that, here we are so many more years later under an administration that really should already have taken care of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So we dug up the DA's lawn, planted hemp seeds. We had these like ceremonial shovels made for the occasion.
And this is the DEA in Washington. This is the official headquarters.
Right outside in Arlington. So DC is Arlington, right across the river. But yeah, pretty much their headquarters. And we'd actually been there already. We had served hemp foods when they tried to ban hemp foods. We had set up, activists around the country had set up tasting tables, and we had hemp foods, we had poppy seed bagels, and we had orange juice. We had trace alcohol, and then the opiate bagels have trace opiates, and the hemp has trace. We actually had been serving them on the day they had built a new museum to link the war on drugs to the war on terror, because obviously all the money was all, you had to link your shit into the war on terror to get money, so there was all about that. So it was a museum built, so on the day of their museum, we set up this table and serving all them.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
So yeah, so here we are like 9 years later. Now we're digging up their lawn, planting hemp seed, and they didn't want to arrest us because we had like farmers, just legit like business people who really were not into marijuana at all.
Yeah.
And we're all there, and we had these ceremonial shovels like in honor of Jack Herrera, and then it was like reefer madness will be buried, American farmers will grow hemp again, and DEA hemp planting 2009. Yeah, but these shovels were terrible shovels, and like they wouldn't because they knew it was going to be this whole fucking story, right? So we're like just digging up their lawn for like half an hour, and they're just trying to scare us off. It's like, you don't get out there, it's going to be 10 years. It's like, no, officer, we're here to be arrested, to civil disobedience. Like, this law is absurd. Mm-hmm. And we just just spent half an hour digging up their lawn and planting hemp seeds. They had to arrest us, and they took our shovels. And we got a front page Washington Post story.
Oh, great.
And, in the same time, we had discovered Lester Dewey's diaries. And Lester Dewey was the USDA's own agronomist that was in charge of the nation's hemp program. So back in like the 1910s and onward through World War II, the US government was basically growing out different cultivars of hemp to figure out, what works best at different latitudes for American farmers. And hemp was a huge crop in America. I mean, that, globally and in America. I mean, all our, canvas wagons going west, like clipper ships, all canvas sails, all cannabis fiber. And, with hemp prohibition, all that history got erased. But then there was the Hemp for Victory program for World War II, and all of a sudden the Japanese cut off our source for hemp, so we needed it. And so now all of a sudden there's this huge American program again. And then they shut that down, and then again erased it from the history books. But so Lester Dewey, someone found his diary in some garage sale, and it's all documenting all this work that the government was doing on the Arlington fields. And Arlington Fields is where the Pentagon was built. So basically, the U.S. government's own hemp cultivation was happening where the Pentagon is.
Oh my God.
And so we got this whole front page story. We dug up the lawn, and then we found this diary, and it was like this huge, like, cool story on the history of hemp in America. And like, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So you won that day.
Yeah, that day we won. Yeah, and we got out of jail the same day. It was pretty good.
How funny would it be if today those plants are just raging in the front lawn? It'd be hilarious if they.
We checked. They're not.
Okay.
We shut them down I can send you a link to. We shut them down last spring
Hmm.
around psilocybin access for end of terminally ill Americans, and that was like one of the most intense actions we ever done. I mean, we came in there hard, and we had Erin. I'm blanking on her last name, but she's one of the two terminally ill patients that's suing the DEA right now for access to psilocybin therapy to alleviate existential anxiety and distress. And there's a law, Trump signed a law in 2018, and it's called the Right to Try Act. So the Right to Try Act basically says that if you're terminal, that you, so long as a drug has passed a basic safety screen, you don't have to wait the next 5 to 10 years for it to be proven efficacious or not. You have a right to that
Oh,
drug.
great. Awesome. Yeah.
It's great, except of course, there's a double standard when it comes to Schedule One. So even though psilocybin has passed all the initial safety screening studies and phase 2 studies and showing great promise and is and now in phase 3, that the government, the DEA has been blocking access for terminally ill Americans. So we went with Aaron and a bunch of other activists, and we actually shut down the DEA. We just blocked the doors, and they still weren't coming to. They were just leaving us alone. And so then we had to escalate, and we were like wheat pasting the whole building. We got, yeah, just basically graffitied the whole building.
That's awesome. Oh man, you got to invite me next time. Next time you do one of these, I'm out there. I'll bring my own sacred shovel, and I'll be on the team.
No, right on, man. It's and that one we didn't even put us in jail. It is like basically the cops were on our side.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at this point, things have progressed and evolved so much that some of those people, they gotta know how outnumbered they are, and even I almost feel bad for some of them. I'm sure are actively working against this process because their heads are stuck in the 1960s or whatever. Their heads are stuck in the all drugs are bad no matter what realm of existence. But there's got to be people that are on that side who know the truth, that know authentically to their core that this is wrong, and they might just be so tied up in all this litigation and this legal nonsense and all the writings that have come before that they can't move the needle at all. But people like you that are doing it in real life really are moving the needle, and that's amazing, dude.
And it's very true that, first responders, cops and firefighters, and these are highly traumatized populations,
Yeah.
like veterans, like a lot of, just they need these medicines. And at this point, they know it, and
Mm-hmm.
or most of them do. And yeah, there's a big shift
Yeah.
happening. Yeah.
Yep. Especially with vets like our friends Marcus and Amber Capone at that organization doing great work. So it's really cool to see the progress. Yeah. Well, cool, brother. I had a couple of quick questions for you before we wrap up. A fun little rapid fire, if you're down.
Yeah, well, I'll just say on Marcus and Amber,
Yeah.
I got really to West Point. I almost did that whole thing,
Uh-huh.
like I felt that call, and and had a different adventure in life and a different mission. But it's cool how it's all coming full circle. And now I'm on the advisory board of vets, and helping veterans, and yeah, it's awesome, and it's such an amazing coalition to be part of. The right left. The amount of progress we're making with this incredible coalition we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bipartisan support is really incredible. At the Vets conference last year, and I was also out at the MAPS conference in Denver, and to see people like Rick Perry, Republican governor, but then also people that are very much on the left side of the political aisle, really coming together with not too much to argue about as far as this movement goes, and their coexistence within this community, I think is driving it forward at a speed it's never been moving at before. So it's really amazing. Yeah. So I was also with Rick. I saw Rick Doblin out at Burning Man, and First met Rick out at the Vets conference last year.
Were you just out there? Were you out there in this craziness?
Yeah, man. I got trapped in the mud. It was wild. We had a couple of cool days, and then around Wednesday, Thursday of that week, everything that could go wrong went wrong, and it turned into just a beautiful nightmare. And I cannot wait to go back next year.
Yeah, dude, totally, man. I haven't played in mud like that since I was 7.
I know. I felt like I was running around in brownie batter the whole time. It was fun.
Yeah. You know, we're out there till Thursday, like striking our camp. It was
Yeah.
freaking crazy. But yeah, it was so fun and like, yeah, just amazing how everyone came together and helped each other out. And
Yep.
yeah, it was beautiful.
The one thing I missed that I had it on my list was the foam. I missed the foam.
Yeah, we you know, wind knocked us down. That windstorm knocked us out so we couldn't foam Wednesday. But we do this big psychedelic. I should have let you know. We do this psychedelic mixer on Wednesday nights. So next year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's fun. We do a little foam and then we go on our car cruise with Abraxas. This big golden.
So my best friend is Nate Stein. He goes by Equanimous. He's a DJ, and he played Abraxas sunrise set Thursday morning sunrise, and that was like the highlight of our week, man. It was so cool. We were out there just in deep playa. Yeah. Yep. We went straight from the white party out to Abraxas. It was awesome, man. So yeah, next year we'll rock for sure. But when I saw Rick, I was talking to him about the phase that MDMA is in right now with the FDA. They're going through brand name choices for the prescribed version of MDMA for therapeutic use, and he was telling me about the different like names that they had in mind for MDMA and the process that it takes to do that. And it got me thinking about other brand names for psychedelics and how fun it would be to come up with a brand name for different substances. Have you ever thought about that? What would be like, not to put you on the spot, but what would be a fun brand name for a psychedelic?
Well, you know, interestingly, like my actual idea, and it was shot down for various, I guess, good reasons, although I still like it, was I thought Adam, like for MDMA, like it used to be, the street name used to be Adam, like the original Innocence, like this incredible miracle, drug when used therapeutically could, or not, could just bring that kind of childlike innocence and like, just bring that to bear on the dilemmas and struggles of life and do the kind of healing that MDMA assisted therapy can do. And Adam, that sounds, I love that, Adam, but I guess it's not going to be Adam because that's too hippie or something.
I pitched him. I wanted to make it kind of sound like a pharmaceutical drug because I know that's kind of what they're after. So I pitched him N-Deepin, like E-N Deepin. And he was like, yeah, look, I think we might be able to pitch that. We'll see. I think right now they're looking at, he liked Empath was his favorite.
Oh yeah. Empath. Okay. Yeah. There's been different ones floating around. Empath is pretty cool. Like inward, empathic, inward.
Yeah. Hey, if you were stranded on a desert island and you could bring one psychedelic with you, what would it be?
Oh man. Well, it'd probably be cannabis, actually. I know it's not traditional, and so that's probably outside the realm of the answer, but I would just say that if I had to pick and only had one, I mean, cannabis is just the daily ally to just help you. Just
reduce anxiety that you're stranded on a desert island.
Well, anxiety, embrace the miracle where you're at, wherever you are, that, we just have this take for granted consciousness. And that's what all the medicines do, is they kind of break you out of that habitual state to like open to the miracle that we live and breathe in. But yeah, LSD, I would have to say would be
that's my top choice. That's my top choice for sure. If you had the ability to prescribe a type of psychedelic compound to global leaders and politicians, what would you choose? What psychedelic would you prescribe?
Well, you might not know that this is already in motion. Through a series of front companies we've invested in and now control all the communion wafer manufacturers of the world. Delayed release LSD, so we're gonna let the church inventory stocks pile up, and
Uh-huh.
then, I think it's Bicycle Day next year. We're gonna pull the trigger.
Perfect.
We're gonna let Brian Marescu, author of The Immortality Key.
Yeah.
I recommend that. Yeah, Secret Religion, No Name. Who was at the Playa this year?
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
they had a chalice. They had a chalice of like that in his book they talk about finding this chalice with psychoactive residues at this Greek complex in Spain, and just showing basically that the early Christian church was syncretic with the Eleusinian mysteries, and that the kykeon that was being drunk by the initiates of Eleusis syncretized with the early Eucharist, and the Eucharist was psychoactive up until Constantine and the oppression of all alternative forms of Christianity. That persisted underground, women led, and the early church was mostly women led, which I knew from my high school classes. A bunch of mostly rich divorced ladies, but they had these secret. It had to be in secret, and it was generally like downstairs or in caves, and it was around the Feast of the Last Supper. Like that was the kind of the rite and the ritual, but it was with an actually psychedelic, and drink of my blood of my body, like was real literal communion with the divine, and that this women led movement persisted underground into medieval times, and the Inquisition it wasn't just this like hysterical thing about witches having these black masses out in the woods. Like there was an actual real religious movement, and it continued holding to these old ways. And of course, it was a propaganda of the Inquisition. Like that's the lens that we see that, but that it was actually a real movement that persisted. And the Inquisition in the New World went after peyote immediately, and after basically anything that was actually a real sacrament that was psychoactive and wasn't like how do you say, placebo.
Mm-hmm.
But now full circle, here we are. I don't think there's so many good movements now. You got Ligare, that's led by Hunt Priest, the Episcopalian, Shefa by Rabbi Zach. Like there's these strong movements now integrating psychedelics in a mainstream religious. And of course, Brian Marescu himself is Catholic and doesn't want to take psychedelics until the Pope does or something. I don't know. It might be a bit, but I think it's imminent. I mean, I think the kids coming up, you got a generation that, I mean, of course, like to the question, we actually aren't going to pull the trigger on that particular thought exercise because
Sure.
you can't surprise people. You got to give
Yeah. Yeah.
intention and the right container and setting and all that
And
stuff.
consent. Yeah. Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But it's still fun to think about. Oh yeah. Well, that's why we're going to take over all the communication satellites and play the John Hopkins.
Yeah. Yeah. Play John Hopkins in East Forest for 7 days straight. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But well, yeah, I feel like the stigma is going to hopefully reverse, and like kids coming up are like, graduating college. Wait, you haven't had an experience? You haven't had some deep thing? Like right now, we're still in the middle of it. But I think soon it's going to shift, and it's like you're going to have like a whole generation soon that's turned on to some extent.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
but LSD, I would pick LSD again.
Okay. You pick LSD. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like Congress needs everybody in Congress needs a 7-day trip to Peru. And
Or ayahuasca, yeah, some
yeah.
herb or ibogaine. Ibogaine, it could
Yep.
be. On some level, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, but
Right.
it's big, amazing, important medicine, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they all really are. Well, brother, I appreciate your work. I appreciate you as a human, your soul. I appreciate your soap. I'm looking forward to the day we get an LSD infused lavender soap because I will be using that every morning. And man, I just really love the work, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you, brother. And yes, the 2-ounce lavender travel size bar soap, the bottom left corner. Like all our retailers are wondering why that's screaming out the shelves. It's kind of like bath salts. What is it? Bath salts back in the day, it's just
Yeah,
some
yeah.
but they was actually on the retail shelves.
All right, y'all go take a look at that. I appreciate you, David.
Thank you so much, brother. Thanks for rocking up like you do, and hope to see you at Vets.
Absolutely. Yep. I'll see you at Vets. I'll see you on the playa. I'll see you out in a different dimension at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, right on.
Right on.
And that's it. Thank y'all for jamming. Thank y'all for listening. Thank you to David Bronner for being one of the most fun guests I've had on this podcast. Can't wait to see you at Burning Man, my dude. Y'all make sure you check out brettpella.com/shows for tour date announcements and updates, and cruise over to hemplucid.com. Use promo code Pella for a discount, and then check out legitgold.com to learn more about the science-backed studies that show how She Legit can have a positive impact on your overall health. Cruise over to legitgold.com, use promo code Brent for 15% off, and I'll see y'all next week. Peace.